Hi again guys, I had a bit of a sauce incident since my last video, so I've had to change my shirt. I had to swap into another Sydney FC jersey because it is game day, so you've got to support the boys, even if they're about 1,000 kilometers away. Anyway, this video is going to be centered around Bitcoin and some of the movements that are concerning investors in the asset at the moment. So in the last month or so, Bitcoin has rocketed to record levels. However, over the last 5 to 10 days has dropped by around 30% from those fresh highs, and is set to have had its worst week since March of 2020. Why is this? Is it the market news that is affecting it, or is it Bitcoin in a bubble that may now be coming towards an end? Today I'm going to briefly discuss both these aspects. I must warn though that I'm not a financial advisor, so what I say here is not to be construed as financial advice. It is merely my opinion and some thoughts about what I've seen going on and based on my own experiences. So first thing, I'll start with the market news. There's about three or four things to touch on here. So traders said a report posted to Twitter by BitMEX Research suggested that part of Bitcoin may have been spent twice. Had hurt confidence in the technology underlying asset class, and also that a pullback was overdue after this huge rally. So this is causing some doubt around the effectiveness of the blockchain technology, therefore hurting confidence in the asset itself. What investors who are buying for the technology side, which I don't think is actually that many, to be honest. I think most of the people who are investing it are doing it for a speculation sort of investment, make some quick money. Anyway, those tech minded investors would be having a bit of doubt now. There has been evidence out there to suggest that there was in fact no double spend on the Bitcoin, but I think the jury is still out on this. What investors need to remember is that Bitcoin is one of the older cryptocurrencies, which means there is every possibility that some of the new coins that have been developed may actually be more efficient and effective. Bitcoin just has the reputation and the price tag, which is why everyone really goes after investing in Bitcoin, but doesn't necessarily mean it's got superior technology. The next item I want to talk about is the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has reiterated that the sentiments of Jerome Powell that inflation is going to remain low. This is kind of counterintuitive to what a lot of investors have been thinking and expecting, given all of the quantitative easing or money printing by central banks, including in the US. However, as spending levels are still remaining low despite much government intervention into economies globally, the velocity of money has not really increased enough to justify increased levels of inflation. And I think this is what Janet Yellen was hinting at. One of the allures of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and other assets for that matter, is that they can act as a hedge against inflation, which would be a better alternative to holding cash. So if there are officials coming out and saying they are not expecting any drastic increases to inflation, this will ease the demand for non-cash assets, including cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. The last bit of market news I want to talk about is what has been happening in the US over the last few weeks and months, and has kind of culminated yesterday with the inauguration. Now that there is wall-to-wall control of the government by one party in the USA, there actually is now a sense of stability about the party, even if people can perceive that the Republicans would be better at managing the economy than the Democrats. The fact that you have a stable government now is actually good for the market. So that means less people are going to be looking for alternative assets, or in this case cryptocurrencies, to store their wealth in. So this might actually also contribute to further pullback from the currency. Finally, I just want to talk a little bit about bubbles and put some ideas out there whether or not we are seeing the bursting of a Bitcoin bubble like we did at the end of 2017 and the start of 2018. So firstly, the one thing about bubbles is that often you don't really know you are in a bubble until it bursts. A lot of people have been piling into Bitcoin lately due to its crazy gain streak that has been on for the last few months. So potentially we are having another bubble situation emerging. There are 5 stages to a bubble. The first is what's known as displacement. This is where people get behind a new development that looks to be a big part of the future. You see this particularly a lot in the technology realms, as they reflect much of the innovation that we see today. Now, since the market crash in March last year, the strongest businesses leading the recovery have all been areas of tech. Now, I have a bit of a theory here. Because a lot of people have seen great gains in investments in the tech space, they've subconsciously enamored themselves to almost any tech-based asset. Enter Bitcoin. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies do represent technological developments. However, the premise that they will be a widely accepted currency is still one that is most likely not going to happen. Anyway, this stage of the bubble has already passed, as we've seen. The next stage is what's called the boom. The boom generally starts slow and then picks up a lot of pace, and this is potentially where Bitcoin has just been, as it has been making fresh highs over the past few weeks. So I think we've definitely gone through the boom. The price doubled in the space of about a month. The third stage of the bubble is what's called euphoria. During this stage, you may hear people commenting about potential fall in the price increasingly. I think this might be where Bitcoin is at currently. I could be wrong, but I think it is. There was a lot of talk from Wall Street experts that if Bitcoin could sustain a price above $40,000 for an extended period of time, it would likely move up to $50,000. However, it has seemingly failed to do this, as it has not been able to rise above this level since it fell down from it. And as I speak this now, Bitcoin is teetering close to the $30,000 mark and could possibly fall below that at the moment. Stage 4 of the bubble is when the smart money starts to exit the asset. This tends to blur over with the euphoria stage of a bubble. So maybe this is part of the reason Bitcoin is declining. The smart money is pulling out. In this stage, the people who have invested blindly will often cling to the hope of a quick resurgence, but instead they will be witnessing declines. What can be very dangerous at this point too is if people start putting even more money into the asset and just further declines going. If people think they're getting a good price on it, it's going to bounce back up, but it just keeps going down and smart money pulls out. So this is actually a really risky part of the bubble. And if we're there, be very careful. Once those declines get severe enough, that is when panic sets in and we start to see massive drops as everyone else scrambles to get out of the asset. It's like a snowball, it just gets faster and faster and faster, or gets bigger and bigger and bigger. This is the fifth and final stage of the bubble. It doesn't necessarily mean we are at this stage yet, but if trends continue, this may be where it is heading now. As it seems, the speed with which it is losing value is accelerating at the moment. At the end of the day, I don't know if it is a bubble or not right now. However, and not that I'm saying I'm an expert on any of these matters, but I can see a fair bit of commonality right now with what happened to the cryptocurrency world in terms of market movement back in 2017 and 2018. I guess only time will tell. Anyway, I hope you found this little video interesting and perhaps insightful. It's not intended to be financial advice, like I said at the start, but as an investor, you always need to be aware of the risks and make sure you've got as good an understanding of what you're getting yourself into as possible. Knowledge is power. Anyway, guys, have a great day. See ya.